Okay. I made a second video talking about ghosting. And it was really long, and I divulged a lot of personal details about a current situation I'm in. And then the stupid video wouldn't upload, and I was like, maybe that's just like the universe being like, do another one. But I'm tired. I've been working all day. Oh my God, poor me. Working all day. Ghosting. So, my last video was 90 seconds long because I was doing Instagram, the Reels thing, and it only lets you have 90 seconds anyway, whatever. And I said that ghosting, people who ghost do so for two primary reasons. Again, there might be more reasons than this, but this is my understanding from reading and also intuitively. Wow, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. May or may not happen. For two primary reasons. Number one, they are ghosting you out of fear. It's just easier for them to not communicate because they don't want to deal with it at all. They don't have the emotional capacity or maturity to deal with whatever the situation is. Number two, they are punishing you. It's punitive. They're doing it because they're mad at you, which is not only cowardly and fearful like the first one, because the first one is about cowardice as well. It's also petty, cruel, and vindictive. And so if you have a friend that's ghosting you to punish you, that's not a friend. That's someone who got some issues. That person's got some issues. And they're better off. I'm so tired right now. My brain stops working after like 4 o'clock, especially if I've been seeing patients all day, doing paperwork, being human, being alive, doing 30-minute fucking videos that won't upload. Anyway, so number one, they're afraid. They're selfish and they're afraid. And again, it's like, I'm talking about a scenario where you've had a relatively balanced, good relationship that's been relatively healthy, not something that's been a bunch of fucking drama and blah blah, nothing like that. It's just like when a friend decides they want nothing to do with you, but they don't communicate in a mature way. And I'm not even saying like, hey, write me a long Dear John letter about why, all the reasons and feelings. I'm just saying, I'm even just saying, like, just use words, like one sentence, like a text. Hey, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to have contact right now because it's too much for me, period, end of sentence. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Like, the situation I'm in right now is one where I've had a friend for about, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years, pretty steady. Don't hang out all the time, but we've gone out together, we've had dinners together. She's met my family, I've met her family, I've been to her house a bunch of times. We've been to events together. I've met her friends. She hasn't really met my friends though. That's one thing that's funny that I say that, because sometimes I feel like there were some sort of red flags in the friendship, and like there are things that you're just like whatever, people are people, not all friends are perfect. Not all friends are a perfect match. Who cares? Like, she wasn't like a perfect match as a friend, just in terms of like, I'm kind of edgy and I like sarcasm, not in a mean way, but I'm kind of satirical, and like, for instance, I like comedy and I like kind of edgy jokes. And I told her this joke once. This is kind of telling about our personalities. I said, there's some joke floating around during Burning Man, like, why drive all the way to the desert to do Burning Man when all you need to do is sit in your house, turn the heater up to 105 degrees, put a fan on at full blast in front of a pile of sand, and then fuck your best friend's wife? Oh, I think it's like, or it's like, I fucked that up. Or take ecstasy and fuck your best friend's wife. Hilarious. I think that's fucking joke is fucking hilarious. And when I told her that joke, she was like, kind of got a little pearl clutchy. And like, well, that's not, like a little, I was like, oh, you're not, okay. I'm not being serious, although it's kind of funny because it's like true. So it's like, that might seem like a silly example, but it's just like my personality type is sort of, I like funny jokes like that and like to be satirical, sarcastic, edgy maybe. I kind of talk a lot of shit. Not like talk shit like I'm mean, although I can be an asshole. But just sort of like the caricatures of the people I see during the day. Like these Marin fucks that drive around in their Rivians. Like these super expensive electric vehicles that now every fucking Marin person needs to have. 3 years ago, all you saw were Teslas. Now all you see are fucking Rivians. And like, okay, maybe that says something about me. Maybe I'm mad at rich people because I'm not rich. But it's just more like I know people are people. But also there's a funny caricature you can kind of extrapolate from real life. And I like to laugh at that. And I talk shit. That's how I talk shit. That's how a lot of people talk shit. And so I don't really feel like she ever 100% like jived with that kind of sense of humor. But whatever, that's not a friendship killer. That's just kind of like a whatever thing. But the other thing is that was a little red flaggy, is she chronic interrupter. You know, one of the biggest gifts you can give to a friend is listening. Like, yeah, active listening. You don't want to sit there just like say nothing as someone talks for hours. That's not what I mean. But like one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody is like let them tell their story. Listen, you're gonna curiosity. That's what it is. She kind of exhibited an incurious attitude about me, about our interactions. Like, you know, when you let people talk about what they're going through or their life, you kind of let them process it. You can learn a lot about somebody. You can learn about like the landscape of their feelings, the dynamics that they deal with by the way that they speak about their life. And I'm just not like trying to say, oh, I'm so much better, but I'm just really curious about that in people. I like to hear people's stories. I like to hear how they tell their stories. I like to hear the way they feel about things, and not only the way they feel about things, but like why they feel a certain way about those things. Like, how do they operate? How do they think? What's the most important thing that they value in that like 10-minute story they just told me? That's also, it's part of it is because I've been trained as a coach by a really good really experienced coach in a training program that was heavily emphasized listening. So I do notice when people chronically interrupt, or they chronically give you advice. When you're not really asking for advice, you're more maybe asking for perspective, which is different than advice. So she's like kind of a chronic interrupter. She's just a little toxic positivity going on. Like, anyway, it's just, so those two things about ghosting. I was just talking about the small red flags. And like, I don't expect my friends to be perfect. And I didn't expect her to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Fuck. This whole Gaza shit, genocide shit, has got me like pretty riled up, upset. I'm trying to metabolize my feelings and not, not hurt myself by ingesting too much content and not having a place to put it. But I also am in a mode where I'm like bearing witness, and I'm making sure to like certain posts that to uplift the posts, to help the press people like Bisa that are on the ground. in Gaza, and people like that, like Mansour, and when Motaz was there. It's like I was really wanting to engage in those posts, and I think it's been, I don't know, it's just trying to do my part. I'm doing my part. But I also, anyway, whatever. I'm going blabbing on and on. Ghosting. Okay, back to ghosting. If someone's ghosting you because they don't really, let me put it this way. Anytime someone ghosts you in the context of a friendship where it's sort of like maybe something was off, maybe you had an argument, maybe they're annoyed with you, maybe you're annoyed with them, whatever, but like not a huge deal maybe, and you reach out and they ghost you, and in this particular circumstance, I texted her after we had this uncomfortable conversation where she was doing a lot of interrupting and toxic positivity and like a lot of assuming, and like it's just frustrating when people do that, especially when you're like in a space of like emotional vulnerability. I left her house feeling, I left her house like being like, fuck, kind of pissed. Like I'm like, I don't want to go back there right now. That was not a good experience. That's not what friends are for. I feel like that person totally did not hear me and was just like trying to shut me up and get me out because they didn't want to deal with what I was talking about. And I wasn't like sitting there talking about it for fucking hours and hours. It literally talked about this particular situation for like 5 minutes. It was just happened to be towards the end of our visit together. And she almost started like walking me out of her house as her anxiety fucking levels started to go up. She made it about her, is what it was about. She made it about her. That's another example of like low emotional capacity and kind of emotional immaturity and low emotional intelligence. So with either number one or number two, you are dealing with the game of cowards. Like number one, fear, they don't know what to say, they'd rather slither away, they're fear, cowardice, definitely on the table. Don't really know what to say, maybe that's also on the table, or maybe they don't, I don't know. But number two is way more toxic. If they're ghosting you to actually punish you, that's a lot deeper than just immaturity and cowardice. That's mean. It's mean. It is vindictive. All of those things that I've said. And not okay. It's not okay. Like, that's so not okay. And it's shocking. It was shocking to me. Like, I hadn't been ghosted since like middle school. I thought about like a time that I was really ghosted in a way where you're like, what the fuck is going on? Did that person die? Like, since middle school. I mean, there was silly stuff in my teens and 20s, maybe 20s, when I was dating and you kind of go on a few dates with somebody and then you don't respond. I guess that's ghosting, but there's not really an investment there or a bond or a history that you're shitting upon. It's just, so I admit to that. Maybe I've done some ghosting there, but I just don't think it's cool. And it's not something that a person with integrity and emotional maturity does. So I was just like, I'm surprised. Adults do this? Yeah. So I'm getting over it. That's the thing too, I should say. When someone ghosts you in this kind of scenario, it kind of leaves you with this big space of interpretation because they have not told you what they think. They have not told you what their motive is. They have not told you it's over or I need a break or whatever the thing is. It's just this big space that where you're unsure, you don't know, and you're not a mind reader. So the natural tendency of the ghostee is to kind of ruminate a little bit, but that's part of I'm convinced that's part of the punishment element of ghosting. It's like they're punishing you because their feelings are hurt or whatever, and there's this, you're ruminating and you're unsure what's going on, and that's part of the punishment. It's interesting. It's super interesting how people operate. So I don't know if she's number one or number two. I kind of feel like it's a mix of both, because I guess you can do a mix of both. Because the last time I reached out, I said, well, the first time I said I needed a break from coming to our house after our last conversation and da-da-da-da. And I said, I love you. I cherish our friendship. I don't want to bring negative energy to your house. And I gave her an out. Like, I was like, it's not all you, dude. It's also me. Like, I don't want to come to your house, like, upset. And, you know, that's whatever, you know. And so she never responded to that. And then the second text was like 7 days later, because I wanted to give time. Just give her some time. And I said, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like, are you, like, I think I said something like, I would appreciate, like, anything, like just a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a middle finger, I don't know. You don't have to use a lot of words, maybe an emoji, like one emoji. And I've heard nothing. So that's what makes me kind of think it's punitive. She's more of a number two, because if I'm like, okay, you don't know what to say, you're afraid, I don't need a lot of words, maybe just emoji, thumbs up, thumbs down, da-da-da. It's over, you're done, you don't want to be friends. I'm cool with that, fine. But I'm thinking it's more punitive because she didn't respond to that one. And I'm, you know, part of me, it's just, I didn't think I'd be dealing with this at this age. It's pretty, like, part of me is hurt, but part of me is like, because of my fascination with human behavior, there's a part of me that's just fascinated by how people operate and the willingness they have to sort of take a situation that could be pretty minimal and cut their losses in a very, like, respectful way, and just turn it into a beast, into a monster, which this now is, like, on my end of things. Like Harriet Lerner talks about apologizing to people not only for yourself, but also to relieve them of some of the burden of resentment and anger towards you, which is a gift. Like, if you're friends, you think about those kinds of things. It's okay to be mad at each other. It's okay. That's fine. You can be mad at me. That's what I tell my kid. You can be mad at me. I understand why you're mad at me. I totally get it. And then I'll apologize for my part, or I'll say it's fine. You don't have to be, don't shame your anger. And it's okay to be mad at people when they piss you off. But again, like, just don't ghost people. It's a low integrity coward's game. And that's all I'll say. The end. Bye.